If a nested component wants to receive input from its container, it must expose a property to that container. The nested component exposes a property it can use to receive input from its container using the aptly named input decorator. We use the input decorator to decorate any property in the nested components class. This works with any property type, including an object. In this example, we want the rating number passed into the nested component, so we mark that property with the input decorator. The container component then passes data to the nested component by setting this property with property binding. When using property binding, we enclose the binding target in square brackets. We set the binding source to the data that the container wants to pass to the nested component. In this example, the product list template passes the product's star rating number. The only time we can specify a nested component's property as a property binding target on the left side of an equals is when that property is decorated with the input decorator. So in this example, the product list template can bind to the rating, but not the star width. Let's give this a try. Going back to our star component, let's add input to our import statement, because we know we're going to need it. The star component wants to expose the rating property to its container, so the container can provide the rating number. We'll add the input decorator then to the rating property. The input decorator is a function, so we add parentheses. We don't need to pass anything to this function, so that's it. And let's remove this default value. Now that we can get the value from the container, we don't need that here. In our example, we decorate only one property of the nested component with the input decorator, but we are not limited to one. We can expose multiple input properties as needed. In the containers template, we use property binding and define the nested component's input property as the target of the binding. Then we set the binding source to the value we want to pass into the nested component. In this example, we pass the product's star rating. That's it. The product star rating property is now bound to the rating input property of the nested component. Anytime the container data changes, the onChanges lifecycle event is generated and the star width is recalculated. The appropriate number of stars are then displayed. Let's check it out in the browser. That looks better. Well, we're not really displaying the 0.2 stars here. Our algorithm could use some improvement, but you get the idea. But what if we want to send data back from our nested component to our container? Let's look at that next.